McCutcheon.
Wow. Oh, you have my consent. Continue. Okay, so y'all know I have tried to do super structured talks in the past. That's not how I work. I'm more of a just like talk and you guys absorb kind of person. So Seabass is right. Pull out page 3. You will not get enough value out of this unless you pull out page 3 and you write down these fire lines, these fire facts that I give you in your manual. These are so easy to implement literally in your next demo. So pull out page 3 and a pencil. We're going literally chronological order, so it takes no brain cells to do. Just listen and absorb. So the first thing that I want everyone to understand about the junk knife page is there is a real purpose to it. I know when I first started doing the demo, I was like, why am I telling them about these knives that are not ours? I'm like, I really don't understand. But like everything else in the manual, in the presentation, everything is there for a reason. Some things are there to build value. Some things are there to establish a need. Some things are there to, again, anything like that. And the purpose of the junk knife page is to establish a need. It's one of the most important enough, if not the most important page of the book. If they can afford it, but they don't think they need it, they won't buy it. If they like the set, but they don't think they need it, they're not going to buy it. Even if they see the value, but if they think they don't need it, they're not going to buy it. So you need to make sure you establish a need. So the first thing that I do, and the first thing everyone has to do, is you have to figure out what sort of knife they have. So the very first thing I do, top of page 3, as I said, I say, what kind of knives do you currently have at home, Mr. and Mrs. Jones? Do you have a mix and match set like this one, or have you invested in a nicer set of cutlery like Henckels or Wusthof? We all know Henckels and Wusthof. Those are decent brands. Am I going to say that they're better than us? Absolutely not. They're not. But they're decent brands. You want to give them credit for it. It's clear that if they're buying Henckels, if they're buying Wusthof, that they, well, depends the kind of Henckels, depends on the kind of Wusthof, that they are, see the value of investing in their kitchen. So there's that line there in the chat. If you'd also like, and this has been really helpful for me recently, is asking them to bring out what sort of knives they have. So that way you can see if it's Henckels International, which is, the one, thanks for the explosion, Seabass. There's Henckels International, which is obviously, if you guys paid attention in training and took notes, which I know you all did because you're here and you're successful, is Henckels International crap. Henckels Germany, not as bad. And so it's important to know the difference between those. I do not have time to go over the differences of all of the other brands today, so I will not be doing that. Jacob, stop at the reactions. But yeah, that's another talk for later, but figure out what sort of knives they have and rip it apart. So again, look back at training. I was watching a video earlier. This video was fire. It's where I got a bunch of my content today. I will attach it at the end. But he was basically saying Henckels, Wusthof, any nicer set of knives. One thing about those is those knives are made for chefs. They are not made for families. Those are made for chefs who sharpen their knives every single day and take care of them and polish them and take the time to wash them by hand. No one, next to no one that you're talking to for these demos does that or cares enough to do that. So then these households are being forced to, take care of knives that they really don't want to take care of. They have to sharpen them regularly. They're not dishwasher safe, and the warranty is on the manufacturing defects. That's something that you want to get across for yourself. That's one thing that's taken me a while to be like, oh my gosh, they've spent $4,000 on Henckels, or they've spent $4,000 on Wusthof. Yeah, they have. That's a waste of money, and I feel bad for them. And that's sort of the mindset that you need to have. Now, when going over the construction of the knives, the handles, the plastic, the steel, everything like that on page 3, what's really important and what I've had to learn, so you all can tell because I'm a pretty upbeat person, is you have to watch your tone. You can't do this page with the same energy and the same pizzazz that you're doing, or if you don't do pizzazz, then whatever your level of energy is for the other pages, these knives, you don't want them to get excited about. So like the way that I do it is, I don't know where my page 3, can pull out my page 3. I'll say, the average knife set is designed to last only about 2 years. So most households waste a ton of money replacing these cheaper knives over and over again. See how I'm not super excited about that? It's a little bit slower than I typically talk. The energy is a little bit more down. That's really important because you want them to not only hear it in your words. That is a big difference for me, Bart. Thank you. You want them to not only hear the difference in your words, but also in your body language and in your tone. As I'm sure you all learned from Jacob, the words you're saying are what? Only 8% of the stuff that you're getting, 8% of the stuff you're getting across. So your body language and your tone really needs to get it across as well. So after thinking about the tone and figuring out what sort of knives they have, there is that average knife set line. One thing that I say is right after the replacing cheap knives over and over, I say, and as I'm sure you know, cheap things are not good. Good things are not cheap. You get what you pay for. And cheap knives like these have a lot of problems. So again, cheap things are not good. Good things are not cheap. You get what you pay for. Cheap knives like these have a lot of problems. Now, I'm gonna send this whole doc to y'all, so put it in your thing, but if you like miss 3 words, totally fine. So then in regards to wooden handles, these are the absolute easiest thing to rip apart if you haven't figured that out by now. They're disgusting. They retain odors. One thing that you can talk about that I talk about on my demos is I've literally seen videos of people pulling apart wooden handled knives and there are bugs and maggots living inside. Yeah, Mackenzie, that was my reaction. Yeah, that's the reaction that your people are going to have when you say that. You think if they have wooden handled Chicago cutlery, they're going to keep the wooden handled Chicago cutlery after you tell them this? No. So the wooden handled knives, bugs, maggots, they live in and rot the wooden handles of knives. Disgusting. Yes, Jacob, that reaction exactly. Now, another thing I want you guys to cross off and physically change in your script. This is what Michael Foreman did, so I know I have permission to do this. But in the script, do you see how the second bullet point, it says several states? Can someone get a nod? Can I get a nod from someone to see I'm not crazy? Okay, perfect. Where it says several states, cross that out. It's not just several, 38 out of 50 states. 38 out of 50 states, the FDA outlaws wooden handles in restaurants because of sanitation and food poisoning concerns. 38 out of 50 states. It's disgusting. And you want your customers to have that reaction as well. And it's not like, oh, someone decided. No, the FDA decided. They outlawed wooden handles because of sanitation and food poisoning concerns. Who here has ever gotten food poisoning? Yeah, raise a hand. Disgusting. It was not a fun experience. I'm so sorry you went through that. You don't want your customers to go through that. Get that point across. Another thing that you can mention is in the early 2000s, UW-Madison conducted a study that found there are actually more germs on a wooden handle than there are in a public toilet bowl in a public restroom. Again, yeah, disgusting, disgusting. You want your customers to have the same reaction. So make sure you jot that down and you get that fact out there. Another thing that's really helpful for this page in general is just having the customer imagine these situations. So, imagine that you're cutting something with your wooden handled knife and you see a little bug squirm out of it. Or imagine, you're stirring spaghetti with a wooden spoon and all that tomato sauce gets absorbed in your spoon and starts to rot or starts to go bad and smell bad. Imagine that with chicken, chicken juice, chicken guts getting stuck in your wooden handle weeks later, rotting and smelling, or your little 4-year-old touching the knife and then putting his hands in his mouth. Disgusting. You want them to have that reaction. Yeah, Bo, I really hope Bowie doesn't do that. I hope you don't have any wooden handled knives in your house. Now, plastic handles. These are more sanitary, but they are really cheaply constructed. What I want you all to write down is plastic handles are typically glued together. Glue melts in the dishwasher. They're going to come apart in the dishwasher. And what's the worst thing than spending even $10 on a knife and then 2 weeks later realizing you can't put it in the dishwasher and you have to, do the dangerous task of washing a knife by hand in slippery, wet water? Really not fun. So put down that glue melts in the dishwasher and most plastic handled knives are attached with glue. Additionally, plastic handles are like a slip and slide. So same deal. This is a really, really good sentence to say. I say it every single demo. Imagine you're washing your hands, or little Susie is washing her hands before cutting an apple and the knife slips. You or your family could cut yourselves. Very, very dangerous. Who do you think is going to win? A knife or a piece of flesh? We all know the answer. It's really dangerous for when you're cutting there as well. Now, in regards to the 2 different kinds of steel, yeah, you're welcome. In regards to the 2 different kinds of steel, there's carbon steel. As we all know, this is unattractive and unsanitary. This is another line that I use every single demo. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't, but when it does, it's fantastic. What I say, and you can point this out on your screen, you can circle it with your mouse. As you can see, carbon steel rusts really quickly and really easily. And I don't know about you, but I personally think there's a lot better ways of getting iron in your diet than through using a really rusty knife. And sometimes they'll laugh. Sometimes they'll be like, ha, 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 ha. but regardless, you'll get a reaction. Yeah, you'll get a hee hee from CPAS. So that's something funny about carbon steel. Funny, but also, again, gross. That's not good to have in your system. Stainless steel, they say a lot that you need to say in the manual. I mean, the manual is already great as it is. This is just extra stuff to hype up this page. One thing that I like to mention about stainless steel that I think is really, really important for people to hear and for people to relate to their normal life is stainless steel is the same material that razor blades are made out of. Exactly, Maya, I think that's what you're trying to type. So thinking about razor blades, you are supposed to replace razor blades every 2 or 3 weeks. And by that point, they're not doing any shaving. There's no anything. So imagine, and you can say this line to your customer, imagine using a stainless steel knife for only 2 or 3 years. Impossible to use, waste of time, waste of money. Mention that there as well. Again, it's going to help them visualize it. I'm going to have to sharpen it more than regularly. It's just going to get thrown away. In regards to the construction, one thing I found in this video and in a Michael Foreman talk, which happened months ago, is talking about the tang. Another way to put it in perspective for people is by literally like showing them with your hand what tang means. So a partial tang is like, say the pencil, and I do this on my demos, and I think this is helpful for people to visualize. Say that this is the steel of the blade and this is the handle. The steel goes halfway through the handle, squeeze it tight. This is really not strong. This is not strong whatsoever. Yeah, Jacob, that. But if you have full tang and the steel goes all the way through the handle, you squeeze just as tight, it's a lot sturdier. So that's how you can show them the difference. A lot of people with those plastic knives, they can visually see that it's not full tang, and that's going to put it in perspective for them. Now, I know I talk a lot, so I'm wrapping up. In regards to the edges, you'll all already know 2 different kinds of edges. Serrated edges, says in the script, those rip and tear at your food, can't be resharpened. One line that I heard today when I was prepping for this is that they're the sharpest they will ever be the day that you buy them. Again, write that down. I heard that today. I'm using that on my demos tomorrow. The serrated knives that you're buying, or those that your customers have been buying, the sharpest they're going to be is the day that they buy them. And you can't say that about our knives, which is why that really stands out. And then an additional thing, if you're talking to like, really like my family would be a great example because we have like meat with every single meal. Serrated knives are terrible for meat eaters because when they're ripping and tearing at your food, they're actually getting rid of the moisture as well. And it's like when you cut an onion and you're not using a sharp knife, the reason the juice gets everywhere is because it's not a sharp knife. Same thing with the serrated blade. When you're sawing back and forth, like with sawdust, it's just going to spew everywhere, and that's going to be the moisture that's going all over. So serrated blades get rid of the moisture as well. Straight blades, those, again, it says it perfectly in the script, but those you do have to sharpen with rod and stone. It's like a wooden pencil. You're just going to sharpen it until there's nothing left. And at that point, what was even the benefit of buying a wooden pencil? Who here even prefers wooden pencils to plastic pencils? Anyone? Yeah, exactly. Now, Seabass, put your hand down. No, y'all are lying. You're messing with my stats. Now, these are the last 2 lines. I'll drop these in the chat too, as well as the video. I got a bunch of this from. Okay, Carrington, that's also weird. My friend uses pens on all of her math tests, which I think is crazy. That's another conversation. But this is a really fire line. I originally heard this from, Jacob, you're gonna have to tell me what talk, but it's this guy who sold like 100K from Texas. I don't know, great talk. Maybe Zach, not sure. Kayla,
Carlos Cordero?
No, I'll find it later. But this line, I say this line at the end of going over disadvantages of low quality, high quality, right after you say like the 3 bullet points about high quality knives. So here's what it is. Write it in your manual on page 3. Knowing what you know now, if you were to design your perfect set of knives, what would you keep from going wrong with your set? Or like, what are some features or benefits you would want it to have? This way, Mr. and Mrs. Jones will literally tell you their hot buttons. They will tell you their hot buttons right there after you told them what their hot buttons should be. So again, knowing what you know now, thanks, Jacob. If you were to design your perfect set of knives, what would you keep from going wrong with your set? Or what are some features or benefits you would want it to have? Ask that every single demo, every single one. For me, it's been just as important as cooking rapport. If you do cooking rapport and you're not doing this, you're missing out on CPO. And then the last question, which I got from the video today, and I personally have not used yet, but I will be putting it. It's already in my manual. I will be using it in my demos in this week and next week. But this line here is also really, really, really fire. It says, how many times a week would you say you eat out? So they say 3. Okay, so then you're using your knives 18 times a week, which is about 1,000 times a year, in 1 year. If you're using something 1,000 times in 1 year, why just get by? So that's what you can say to anyone who's like, oh, my knives are fine. No, they're doing okay. They're holding up. They're fine. What? No, they're not. You're using your knives about 1,000 times a year if you only use them for when you're cooking, which, let's be honest, people use their knives for more than just that, twice a day. So really, really fire line. I'm going to attach the YouTube video where I got a bunch of this from. I also Michael Foreman was like, great. Carrington got lost with the math. That's okay. It's about 18 times 52 for 52 weeks, 18 times a week. But yeah, I will also attach the doc with all of this info. Not super organized, but fire. So hope you guys got some value out of that. If you didn't put it in your manual, do that right now. But yeah, put some takeaways in the chat.
Yeah, let's get 3 takeaways, 3 shares. What was most valuable for that? Yeah, Blake, let's give her some snaps. That was awesome. Thanks for juicing up that page for us. Let's get 3 shares, 3 takeaways. What was most valuable from hearing that message? Josh? Yeah, go
ahead. I liked what you said about after you go through the disadvantages of knives and stuff, then asking them what features would they like the most in their knives, because then that kind of gives you just like a blueprint of what type of even set to go for. So I like that a lot, instead of just transitioning right into why are Cutco so good.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Let's get 2 more shares. I would agree.
The one where knowing what you know now, if you were to design a perfect set of knives, what would they have? It's always the best because they just go on and describe Cutco.
Money. Let's get 1 more.
Yes, that is a game changer. I love that.
Pat?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was impressed that the FDA had outlawed wooden handled knives in 38 states. That's amazing.
Yes, Pat. Couple takeaways from me. Established the need, right? Shops. Wished off in those high quality for shops, not homeowners, right? Good things are cheap. Cheap things aren't good, and good things aren't cheap. Cheap knives have a lot of problems. Slip and slice for that plastic handle knife, and then asking Mrs. Jones to describe that perfect knife to you. Let's cancel the recording.